Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is a fun one. This is a Q&A video, pretty much all about reselling. So I'm answering your questions. You guys submitted questions on Instagram and a YouTube post recently, and I'm gonna try and get to all of them. So there were some duplicates I tried to combine, but the majority of these questions are reselling related. And then at the very end, there will be a couple YouTube questions and a few personal questions. In fact, the most popular question was a personal question, so you'll have to stay tuned for the end for that one. If you are new to the channel, my name is Courtney. I am a full-time reseller in Southern California. I live in a very rural mountain area, and I source in LA, and I've been full-time for 2 years. I'm also been on YouTube for 2 years. So I've been sharing my journey, my mistakes, my things I've learned for the last couple years, and I thought it was just a perfect time to do an updated Q&A. So here we are. If you aren't subscribed and you like reseller content, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button down below. It means a lot to me. I'm pretty close to 20,000. That will mean the world to me. But yeah, and then as always, the thumbs up always brightens my day. So I very much appreciate everyone watching for 2 years. Even if you just started watching, I very much appreciate it. So, all right, let's just jump right in. There's a lot of questions. So how did you get started reselling? I started reselling when I left San Francisco. I was working in the startup technology space, and I moved to a very rural area in Southern California, and I realized I wasn't going out like I was once before. So I had some clothes, things I would go to, like the trendy restaurants and stuff like that, things from my past career job, so there were just clothes that I wasn't wearing anymore. And so I decided to start selling them on Poshmark. And it probably took me a few weeks of selling just things out of my closet before I started watching YouTube videos, started going to thrift stores, and just kind of got hooked. So before that, I've always been a thrifter, yard saler, antique store. I know those aren't really words, but I've always enjoyed the thrill of the hunt, mostly stuff for my own house or my past apartments, but just really unusual stuff that you can find that, just brings a smile to your face. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. All right, do my items sell faster on eBay or Poshmark? I don't know if there's a fair way for me to decide this. I started on Poshmark about 5 months into reselling. I added eBay when I went full time. And currently I have just a little bit more listed on Poshmark, but I sell almost double on eBay. That was my dog Luna, and she's over the video already. So I sell more on eBay. That's where I list first now, and I cross list everything to Poshmark within a day or two. And both Poshmark and eBay have their pros and cons, but eBay is definitely better and easier for me as a seller with 1,500 active items. So yeah. What is your favorite platform to sell on? eBay. I've said this a lot. I think it's surprising because Poshmark is easier to start, and that's also where I started. Poshmark, I just don't think in the large inventory scale, everything is very tedious and manual per item, and I would do a lot more with that platform if they just made things a bit easier for those of us that are business sellers. But it is a fun platform. I just do better on eBay, and that's kind of my preferred platform. The dog's gonna walk around apparently. You said you prefer eBay more than Poshmark. Would you ever quit Poshmark? Yes, absolutely. Right now it's still a part of my dollars coming in per month, but if I found another platform that could supplement what I'm making on Poshmark, I think Poshmark, unless they make some pretty significant changes, I don't see a life journey with Poshmark. It was a really great starter platform, but yeah, we'll see. I'm not currently actively trying to get off the platform. I do see it happening in the future though. How many items do you list daily? And in your opinion, what is the best time throughout the day to list your items? What is the best time to share as well? I don't list daily. There's a lot of things from other people on YouTube, people on Instagram, that a lot of definitive statements that I subscribed to or that I believed in the beginning of my reselling journey because I just was hearing it from a lot of people. Do I think activity is going to be good? Listing consistently, do I think that's good? Absolutely. But I don't want to be a slave working 7 days a week and never taking a break. So yeah, I don't worry about it too much. If I have stuff, if I have photos and I've got things to list, I'll list. Some days I list, 40 items. Some days I list 0. I would say I probably list about 5 days out of the week. And that just seems to work for me and kind of work-life balance. As far as throughout the day, I'm not in any sort of routine. So it's just when I'm sitting down and listing. Sharing, a lot of people say sharing in the beginning of the morning, sharing in the evening or sharing during posh parties. I just don't play the Poshmark games. I really dropped that pretty early on. I try to get my closet shared at least once per day. There's no specific time, and I list. That's about it. The dog is grumpy over here, apparently. So let's see. What do you use to look up comps? So until recently, I was looking up almost all my items on an app called Completely. It was only available on iOS, which are the Apple devices like iPhones and iPads. And about a week and a half ago, it stopped working. And then when I went to go kind of do an update, it's no longer available on my app store. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. That was a really easy way for me to look up listings or solds. So yeah, I currently am looking up solds through the eBay app now and through Poshmark, but hopefully that comes back because I really liked that app. All right, how many active listings do you have in Poshmark? How many sales are generated daily? And what's your most selling category? So I have about 1,500 active listings on Poshmark and about 1,450 on eBay. Just about the same. How many sales are generated daily? It varies. There's some days I still occasionally have a $0 day. It's very rare, but it still occasionally happens. And the most I've had in a day is probably about 40. Most days I would say is somewhere between 5 and 15. That seems to be that typical range for me. But yeah, what's your most selling category? I think tops. I pick up a lot of tops. I like photographing tops. I think tops are something that you move through a lot. Like my closet, I have fewer jeans, shorts, dresses, but I have a lot of tops or sweaters or, that type of stuff. So that's what I pick up the most. Let's see. How many items do you need to have in your closet before you start making daily sales? This one I got a few times in different ways, but also kind of how many listings to get my desired income. So I never noticed, this is when I hit, 200 listings, I was getting consistent sales. I still have a $0 day. So as far as consistency, I would focus more on month over month versus day over day or week over week. So month over month, I would say there's better times of the year that I just have higher sales in the last couple years. So I don't stress too much. I'm just constantly trying to list, grow my inventory, and kind of see that just overall line kind of go in the right direction. But I would say, I have a large inventory now. I have the space for it. I would say probably when I was at that 300 to 500 active listings, I was starting to see more consistency, but there wasn't a magic number. There still isn't a magic number. It's just, it's all over the place. It's a very inconsistent sales for me. Do you work your reselling business 7 days a week, or do you have specific time set aside for just eBay versus Poshmark? This person was saying that they, have specific days where they do specific things. I got a lot of questions around this kind of topic. So I do not have a strict daily routine. There are some things that I do most days. I list most days. I take photos most days. I do, shipping most days. I do packaging most days. I only source about 1 day a week. So if I lived closer to thrift stores, I think I would have a very different business model. I think I would probably be sourcing every day if I lived in LA and listing less, but just listing higher dollar stuff. But I don't. It takes me about 2 hours each way to get to LA, and I spend a whole day thrifting, and that hopefully will get me enough stuff to last me that week. And not everyone has that. So if you live closer to thrift stores, you have 20 in your area, and you can go every day, that might be your business model. But for me, I have to pick up sometimes the $15 items and sometimes the $100 items so that I just have consistency with listing. And I don't think I like my life where I live. I don't think I would want to be commuting too much more. There's occasional times I'll go down to LA twice a week, but for the most part, it's usually once. And consistency with anything else. It's just, I have to-do lists every day of things that I'm aiming for. There are certain days like Mondays that are bigger shipping days for me. But I'm pretty chill and relaxed. I've never been super strict on any of my work schedules. It's just, I've got to get this stuff done. What's the priority, and et cetera. So, I think, most of the questions around that were daily, weekly, monthly routines. Yeah. Also, a couple of them said, when do you find time for fun? I make that a priority. I don't list every day. I try to take at least one full day off each week. And at the very end, I'll talk a little bit about some changes in my personal life that have made that really more important for me, is having some breaks from reselling. So I hired help in my reselling business, and then couple questions about how do I outsource any of my stuff, and do I have a VA? So I do have a virtual assistant to do one thing and one thing only, share the closet once per day. You can find them. I have not used any of the programs that some people say, like they share closets for Poshmark, and they're kind of small businesses that do that. I've never used any of those. I found someone through Upwork. So Upwork, you can find consultants and freelancers and stuff like that for maybe design stuff, or I used Upwork in my past corporate jobs, and so I was familiar with the app and the platform. There's also a program called Fiverr. I think that's how you say it. They're both very similar, but you can find someone in the US, you can find someone in a different part of the world, and that's the only thing I pay anyone to do. Everything else I do on my own. I did, for about 3 months, have a part-time employee who was doing packaging for me, and I thought maybe she would start some photos. So I do have a few photos that we tested out. She had a full-time job. She also had a little one, and it was just a little too much for her to handle all of that, which I can't imagine. So it didn't work out in the long run, but it was good for me to experiment. I could see myself going down that road again, but I, at the moment, just like not having to worry about managing anyone, because that takes up time too. And so at the moment, I just kind of like the freedom of being on my own. And I don't think to be a reputable business, you have to have some large team, or you have to do, if you want to kind of be self-employed and have that freedom, you can still have a really great, strong business. I've seen a lot of resellers do that. So, all right, what happened to your Goodwill bins outlet hauls? Do I still go? There were a couple questions about where are those at? What's going on? I have not been to the bins. What month are we in? October? Probably since January, maybe even before that. I have not been to the bins even before COVID. So the bins was my favorite place to source. That was a lot of the beginning of my YouTube hauls were bins hauls. Some of my favorite videos that I did very early on were comparing a haul from the bins versus the stores and seeing which one I got more bang for my buck. LA has a few different locations of Goodwill outlets, and I really liked the culture there. You start seeing familiar faces, you start parking your carts near the same people. And I felt like it was a really great community. It started getting a little harder for me because with YouTube growing, all of a sudden it was also getting to be a hotbed of places for people to recognize me. And although I'd say about 3/4 of my days out and about, I usually run into people, and I love when people say hello. The bins was just like an intense place of seeing people in the reselling community that wanted to talk about videos and that type of stuff. And it felt very overwhelming. I'm a pretty introverted person, and I'm pretty overwhelmed in public situations in general. And when you add, are these people staring at me because they watch my videos, or are they going to come say hi? It started feeling a little uncomfortable. I still would go because I wanted to see people, but I would go in with that mindset of maybe I'm not going to be as productive at the bins this day if I do start talking to some people. I also had some reseller friends that I made there, and I still kind of miss those days, but will I go back? Absolutely. COVID really threw things off. I have some family members that I occasionally see with some distance that have some health conditions, and we're trying to be very safe in my family. So the bins, although I've heard great things about how they've accommodated, it still hasn't been a priority. But don't tell anyone. I think there might be a bins haul soon. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to do it again. But yeah, I would say before that it was about once or twice a month. That was a long answer. Okay. Do you ever regret leaving the corporate world and venturing on your own? Is there any aspect of your old corporate world that you miss? And then if I have any recommendations for anyone that wants to leave their corporate job. So I was director of marketing in my previous position for a media company. I worked before that in the startup technology space in sales and marketing and business strategy. I loved the challenges. I didn't really love sitting in meetings all the time, but I loved the challenges. I loved having teams of people doing great things, experimenting, collecting data, and reporting on those. I did not like my last commute. 3 hours a day really sucked the life out of me, and it was hard for me to have a life where I live now. So I never say never. I like the freedom that I have right now. I miss the paychecks. There are some questions about pay that we'll get to in a little bit, but I did take a pay cut to become a full-time reseller. And there's also things like, no one's matching my 401k, my healthcare I have to pay full for, so I don't, so there's things like that. But it's been a couple years. I've kind of worked out the kinks. If someone did want to leave their corporate job and become a full-time reseller, plan. What works for me, I live alone. I have a mortgage. I have a dog to feed. And I have a car payment. I paid off my student loans about 1.5 years ago. So those are gone, but we have bills. And so I would say what works for me may not work for someone else. If you're a 2-income household, it might be different. You might be able to do it a little bit easier, but I would say just plan, just write things out, worst case scenarios, have a little bit in savings or a lot in savings. And yeah, if you really, really want to do it, it's worth a shot. You can always go back to the corporate world if it doesn't work out or if it's not your favorite thing. But I don't miss certain things, but I do miss having like teams and, let's see, do you have a limit threshold that would maybe prompt me to look at other work besides reselling? No, if all of a sudden everything tanked, I've got 3 main revenue streams, which is Poshmark, eBay, and YouTube. So eBay is my main one. Poshmark is second up, and then YouTube is right there behind. I do an occasional couple other small projects here and there that are not related to reselling. I have thought about doing some more of that just to kind of keep things interesting and fun, but at the moment, I'm not ruling anything out. If a great opportunity came my way, I would probably consider it and be open-minded. But at the moment, I don't see any, if everything tanked, I would probably just adapt and keep doing what I'm doing. So, and I just don't think reselling, I don't see it tanking just instantly overnight. So, but yeah, I have a lot of experience. I have a college degree. If I need to go back into that world, I can. And especially now that everything's a lot of people are virtual, maybe I wouldn't have to commute. But all right, what are your goals in the next few years? Do you see yourself still on platforms or maybe creating your own website or opening a resale shop? Great questions. I've been asked this quite a few times. I could maybe see doing a website just because I know there's people that purchase from YouTube videos when they see a haul and, maybe they would want to direct. I don't do any direct sales right now. I like a little bit of the security on these platforms if something goes wrong, and just provide that reassurance to other people. But I could see doing my own website and maybe having things cross-listed there as well if people want that. But resale shop, absolutely not. I am not a brick and mortar person. I don't want to manage a team of brick and mortar employees. I could maybe see some pop-ups in my future where that would be a lot of fun. But I live in a very, very small town where, style is not really a big thing here. So it probably isn't going to happen for me. Do you use an app for cross-listing? I'm thinking about cross-listing because eBay alone is not cutting it for this person. I do not use an app for cross-listing. I have tried the 2 main cross-listing platforms and neither of them really saved me that much time. It felt like it was saving time. And if you're trying to cross-list a whole bunch of older inventory where maybe you don't have those photos anymore, you can maybe do that and kind of get caught up. But for me, they weren't worth the money. They didn't really save me. And I timed it out. But I do think cross-listing is really helpful. At least being on 2 platforms is really helpful. Coming into a platform question, I know you said you were considering trying Mercari. Have you tried it? If so, how's it going? I had quite a few people ask for an update on Mercari. So I think I did 2 Mercari videos. I tried it out for a month or 2. I had a few sales. I was sharing my experience. I just didn't like it. There's really no other easy way of saying it. Also, I feel like the more you spread yourself thin, the more mistakes for me that I would be making. So maybe I wouldn't delete something that sold on Mercari because I've got these 2 other platforms to consider. I know some people really love Mercari and have great success. I did have a little bit of success. I just didn't have my heart in it. And so I knew it wasn't going to be for me. So never say never on trying it again, but not at the moment. So you have mentioned that you don't use stock photos. I'm assuming because they're copyrighted, however, many resellers use them and other popular YouTubers use them. Is there a real danger of being sued or penalized for using them, or are you just being cautious? And then another person commented on that they noticed it as well. And they actually liked that I don't use stock photos. So I don't pass judgment on any reseller. We all have our own different business models. We all have our different business decisions. Because I do have a marketing background, I am very sensitive to not stealing. And that's just not my property to use unless I had, specific permission from that company or photographer. So just like I wouldn't want someone taking my stuff from my small business and not giving me credit and, that type of stuff, I don't want to do it to anyone else. I also think that, keep in mind, out of 1,500 listings, I probably have about 10 that as a second or third photo, I put in a stock photo because the item just did not show well on a hanger or mannequin or something like that. So I have used them very, very rarely and always as a second photo, not the cover shot. And that's just to kind of just support the item if I really am desperate, but it's just a personal choice. I'm kind of a rule follower, and I look at other people's stock photos and I'm like, man, that looks great. But I still do okay without using them. So I don't think it's a deal breaker. And sometimes people are looking for something and they see other stock photos, so they see someone else's listing with the stock photo, but then maybe my item's a little cheaper, so they still can see them if they really want to most of the time. All right, what are your thoughts about sending in to ThredUp? Any circumstances where it's worth it and can turn a profit? I did a video sharing my experience with the RealReal and ThredUp. So just COMMONTAGS, RealReal, ThredUp. I do have a lot of ThredUp videos, so I would say maybe just search for COMMONTAGS, the RealReal. If I'll remember, I'll pop that video below. But I shared my experience using them. I don't use them now. I haven't used them in a long time, probably close to a year. It wasn't for me, and it was also time consuming. So I know a lot of people don't like the processing of the steaming, the photographing, the shipping. And so it's kind of like, oh, I'll just send this stuff in and let someone else deal with it. For me, I was also having to, in my trial period of multiple boxes being shipped into these places, I'm giving up the freedom, a little bit of the freedom to allow a business to handle these items. I'm getting a smaller percentage. Now, some items can do better there, but for the most part of what I tested, a lot of them were selling for significantly less, or I was getting less money per item than I would get on my own. And I just didn't like the pressure of buying a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I don't know if I said this in that video, if I lived right next to the bins or within, 15 minutes of the bins, I'd probably go to the bins every day, load up on stuff as much as possible and send a whole bunch of stuff in to have them take what they want. And then anything they reject, I'll sell on my own. And I've seen some people do that. I don't live close to the bins. So 4 hours of my day going back and forth. So I just can't get that much product, but I also just didn't enjoy it. Having boxes of returns, having to process that, possibly reship back, look for flaws, track things online. It was all very time consuming. So I would just rather do things kind of in my own control. And the next question was, do I use the RealReal? So if I were to use the two, like if I wanted to get rid of some stuff that were a little higher end, I would definitely use the RealReal again. I liked the experience a lot better. So, but yeah, I'll link that video below if I can remember. All right. Any thoughts on returns, like the best way to prevent them? I allow returns on eBay. So it's buyer pays return shipping, and then Poshmark doesn't allow returns. But if they did, I would turn that on because I think my return rate is 2 to 3% on eBay. And I also just know that I don't feel comfortable or don't like purchasing stuff that I can't try on. Now, because I'm a reseller, if I buy something on Poshmark and it doesn't fit, I can just resell it. But a lot of people aren't like that. So as far as returns, I don't mind them on eBay, and they're not that excessive. Now on Poshmark, I think it's frustrating when someone makes a false accusation or claim. I do think adding things like measurements can help in certain situations. I don't, like with cases on Poshmark, I don't even respond to them at all. I just let Poshmark handle it. And if they approve a return, it's no big deal. I'll just get it relisted. But yeah, it doesn't faze me. In the beginning, it fazed me. Someone gave me at eBay Open really great advice, and they had been doing clothing reselling, because I think that's the thing that I always heard was people can rent your items. You know, they can buy it on eBay and then they return it and they've worn it 3 times or something. And sure, that could definitely happen, but they have to pay the shipping to them and the shipping back, so it's still a cost to them, and it's not that time consuming for me to relist. I haven't had any like, you know, crazy like, oh, they sent me back damaged stuff. I've sold probably close to 5,000 items, and, you know, I haven't had much of that. So I think sometimes you hear those scary things and you're like, oh my gosh, that's going to happen all the time. It hasn't for me. It's all been very simple. So bring on the returns as long as it doesn't become excessive. But yeah, I think I asked in one of your recent videos, oh, this person asked a comment. I left a comment and then I don't respond to comments right away. It usually takes me a week or 2 to get to YouTube comments, but the reason I put this on here, I wanted to get to every question, but it was kind of more about Poshmark terms and conditions. So she was saying that bodysuits on Poshmark are apparently, according to this comment, they said that you can't sell used bodysuits on Poshmark. I've never read that, heard that. I don't look at their terms and conditions. I'm a rule follower. I try not to break anything, but I've sold a lot of bodysuits that are pre-owned on Poshmark, and I've never had any issues. I've actually never really gotten into trouble from Poshmark for anything. And I am, so I've got 1,500 items. I've sold close to 3,000, or 20 something. Yeah, over 2,500 is what I've sold. I haven't had many issues or any. So, but you know, if Poshmark came back and said, hey, you're doing this wrong, I would just fix it. I don't know. And eBay, the only thing I've gotten any issues with, a company, Barefoot Dreams, sent me, they had a law firm that was sending like, can you prove the authenticity? And I didn't have the original receipt. So I just removed it from eBay, and it's still selling for me on Poshmark. That's the only thing. So, but I also, that's another reason I don't use stock photos. I have heard of people that have had certain companies reach out to them to not use stock photos. So I don't have any of those problems because I don't use them. How do you track your sell-through rate and impressions on Poshmark? I think data around Poshmark, that's always been a pet peeve of mine. They don't have any kind of dashboard. If you're a data nut like me, it's not very helpful. So I used to do my own spreadsheet and would do all of these graphs and pull all this data, and, you know, but mostly I just use eBay data to give me an idea of my business details. So yeah, Poshmark is pretty useless in that category for me. And it's not the majority of my sales anymore. So I was wondering if you knew the difference between share and then edit next list. So this is something I heard about. Whoops, I just hit the camera. Apologies. This is something I heard about when I first started and I was watching YouTube videos. I think there's a lot of YouTube videos that have tips and tricks around Poshmark. You know, you should do this, you shouldn't do this. I don't put out that content because I think there's a lot of false information, and it can be very confusing as a Poshmark seller. I think the key thing with reselling, whatever the platform is buy stuff for cheap, list it for more than you paid, and list consistently. You know, I don't think like the edit next list. Now, some people are going to disagree with me because I've shared that I don't necessarily agree with some of these tricks. But I don't have the time to worry about it. And I didn't really get any valid resources saying that made a difference. So, I don't even, yeah. What is the secret to selling on eBay? eBay is a beast. I don't know the secret. I mean, it's been about 2 years of me being on eBay. I've sold a couple thousand items on there. I like eBay a lot. It's really intimidating to start, but just pull the Band-Aid off. Be prepared to make a lot of mistakes. Be prepared to sell something accidentally for $2 that was supposed to be $20, or pay shipping for, you know, in excess of what you charge the buyer. And there's so many things that you have control over. It's like, how do you just start, you know, and keep it as simple as possible. I do think I have a video, and I'll try and link this below, how to start on eBay if you're coming from Poshmark. If you're a Poshmark seller and you want to start on eBay, some of my tips, some of the things I learned. So I'll try and link that below, because I think most of that probably still is true today. But just don't be afraid to make mistakes and just list consistently. eBay for me is my main platform, but it took almost 2 years to get to that point, you know, or at least over a year for me to pass Poshmark. So it takes time and consistency, but and mistakes. But yeah, most of the resellers that I follow that are the full-time, you know, 6-figure sellers that are making, you know, great, you know, a good lifestyle, the majority of their sales are eBay. It is international. It has a lot more buyers. You can sell pretty much anything. So that's really where I shifted my focus and was like, this is the platform for me. eBay item specifics. How many do I fill out? What about the new required fields? So if you aren't on eBay, you might not be familiar with this, but they did just roll out some new required fields. A lot of eBay sellers are trying to edit those if they're missing any. I've never been really great when they roll these changes out. So I probably have to do it from the last update they did. Things still sell for me. Yeah, that type of stuff doesn't faze me. You know, they're going to make improvements, they're going to make changes, and sometimes it's tedious for sellers, but you know, all these platforms, they have just little things that we just have to deal with. So I do all the required, and you know, a lot of my stuff is clothing. So, you know, I try to use those drop downs for, you know, 50% of the options and try to provide that information. But I also don't go overboard. Like, I don't fill out everything. I would love to take the leap and cross this to eBay, but like some others, I'm very intimidated by the shipping process. Would I mind sharing like specific size boxes that I use, poly bags, all that kind of stuff? So again, I'll link that video below. When I first started eBay, I used the flat rate items because that's what I was most comfortable with Poshmark. And I didn't have any poly bags. I didn't have a scale. And then when you get over the hump and you start getting used to eBay, then it makes sense to save some money for either you or your buyer and learn how to do shipping. So it's super easy for me now. It wasn't in the beginning. It just takes practice and mess ups, a lot of mess ups. How do I price shipping for heavier items of clothing or boots on eBay? Do I always know the size? I approximate. So have I missed out or have I underestimated shipping? Yes. It's rare these days, but it has happened. And most of the time it's like $1 or $2. It's not significant. But I mean, most shoes, if I can fit them in a flat rate or padded flat rate envelope, it's going to be about $8. And I charge the buyer for all my shipping. So that's not that far off from Poshmark. If it's boots or something like that, I still try and get them into flat rate boxes. So, you know, medium flat rate. But I mean, I've sold some that have to go in a large flat rate, which is like $15, $16. So, you know, if it's the right items, people are going to pay. But it's just trial and error. Some people put in their weight and measurements when they're listing. I don't. I'm way too lazy. So yeah, owning up to that. How much would you estimate you spend on supplies each month? So this is kind of, they're saying shipping supplies, cleaning supplies, like lint rollers, tape, that kind of stuff. I don't spend that much. Tape, you could get at Costco. Lint rollers, I buy on Amazon. And I would say I don't use that much tape because I don't use boxes all that much, but poly bags I buy in bulk. So a couple times a year, I just buy a new bulk order. If I had to guesstimate, I would say probably about $50 a month on supplies. I don't use decorative stuff. I just, you know, keep it simple. All right. I'm interested in reselling and have recently retired. Would you recommend someone getting into reselling now? Also, what do you think of niche markets like clothes for live action role play groups? LARP. I don't know what LARP is. Live action role play groups. I mean, there's those like Comic-Con and stuff like that some of my friends in the Bay Area were into. And So I don't know if that's similar, but I think the more niche you can get, the better it can be for you if you have kind of a niche. I'll sell anything. So I'm probably not the best person for that. But do I think getting into reselling now? I think getting into reselling anytime. I think there's a whole generation of people that are trying to do something good for the environment. And, you know, there's a lot more people that are comfortable with, buying used. And so I think it's a great time. I also think there's a lot of people that get into it that don't enjoy it and they get overwhelmed. So there's always new people coming in, but there's always new people leaving. So, is it going to flood the market? I've also said this a number of times. I buy almost all my stuff on eBay and Poshmark when I can, if I can't find it in thrift stores myself. So I am way more of a buyer on these platforms because I also sell. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to affect me, and I'm not concerned about it. What do you use to take pictures of the items you list? I use my iPhone, and that's it. I don't have a fancy camera. Although the iPhone I did upgrade, so it's the 11. It's an 11 Pro. That's what I use. And I don't use editing things. If on eBay, sometimes it edits my cover photo to be a little bit brighter. And if it does that, great. If it doesn't, I don't care. I have heard people using great apps and they have a lot of success with it. I'm just lazy. So yeah, I think my photos are decent. They're not perfect, but stuff still sells for me. Do I have a backup plan? This was the same person, so I didn't notice. Do I have a backup plan? They're worried about the crash from COVID, that it's going to trickle down to reselling clothing. I think I'm not worried about it. I always have a backup plan. If I'm not paying my bills, I can start looking for a job and supplement. And is this the ideal time? Probably not, but there's a lot of people that are dealing with that. So I'm sure you've explained before, but I would like to know how you store and track your items. I've got quite a few questions about inventory. I feel like my inventory is like everyone else's. I've got clear bins that I've had from day one. It's nothing fancy. I have a spreadsheet. I have numbers on each bin. In each bin, each item has a little sticker on it with a number. That's it. Which actually, I think I got rid of those stickers with the numbers. It's now just the bin number because there's only about 20 items per bin. So I promise before the end of the year, I will do an inventory. This will be my promise to you guys because I've been asked this a lot. I work in my loft to take photos and some processing is there. And then I have a tough shed outside where I keep most of my 1,500 items. And I will do a video before the end of this year, I promise. And yeah, spreadsheet, I just created one. I used to use that for my corporate jobs. So yeah, it's very simple. What is your process for cleaning, preparing items? Any tips for shaving time off the process? That's a pretty time-consuming process. You know, if you've got to wash things, that when you're cutting off tags, when you're inspecting things, when you're steaming things, getting them on a hanger, getting them on a mannequin, that is a pretty time-consuming component. I don't think I've ever shaved time off of it. I think I do a lot of bulk stuff. So I steam in bulk, I take photos in bulk. I try to keep certain items, similar items together. But it is a time-consuming part. I think it's just put my phone on Do Not Disturb, put some really upbeat music on, try not to get distracted, and just go for it, like a little bit of a workout. I would like to know how you handle steaming your finds. So this person said the steam fills their room. They were saying that they use a steamer called Salav or S-A-L-A-V. I've never heard of it. And they were thinking about upgrading to a Jiffy. I use a Jiffy steamer. I have one upstairs. I don't know if any steamer is perfect, and I don't really have much to compare to. That's what I got right away when I was a part-time reseller. It's a couple $100. It's an investment, but there were very few investments in reselling. So, and I was working full-time, so it wasn't too bad. But sometimes the dribble of the water on the items, but then the item just dries off. So it works decent for me, but I steam most of my items. That is something I do. So I had a couple questions around sizing, like what do I do if I have an item and it's listed for a size 12, but it fits more like a size 10 or 8? How do I handle that in listing? Or someone said, if I have a pair of shoes and I can't find the size tag, how do I handle that? I try not to pick up shoes without a size because that's a nightmare for me. But if need be, I can always try and show as many measurement photos with the actual measuring tape and, That's about it. But I try not to. And sometimes I just redonate that kind of stuff if it's annoying me, because I'm not drawn to like want to list it. If it's like clothing, like Lululemon, if I can't find the little stamp of the size and I'm doing measurements, I will guesstimate the sizing, provide the measurements like I do in all my listings. And I will list as so like if it says size 12, but it runs small, like vintage items, I've heard people go both ways. I've heard people say they list in the size they think it is and then just note. I just list in the size that it's listed, and then I note the opposite way. So, and I've sold items like that. Some people, like if it's a designer item, they know that it's designer and it runs small. So they already kind of have that designer or brand. They know how it runs. So I just try my best, but and I haven't had many issues with it. So I think it's going okay. All right, a couple more reselling questions and then we'll jump in. I'll keep going quickly. Is there anything left on your brand bucket list? I never really had a bucket list. Occasionally I find an item and I'm excited because I've seen other people talk about it. There aren't many of those items now. I've found a lot of them, but there's always new brands that I find and I get excited just to have new brands. So what are some of my favorite bread and butter brands? I don't pick up too many mall brands, but as far as those, I like a J. Crew, a Banana Republic, Madewell, some of those, just because they're kind of classic and, but I'm not afraid to pick up a variety, and size matters, style matters. If it's cheap, a lot of the bread and butter, I only pay $1 or $2 for. But I have had some really great returns on some of those items. So I like variety. This person struggles with Bowden, J. McLaughlin, and Eileen Fisher. Do I have any tips? I've done decent with all those brands. I think don't overprice them. I think with those brands, I've seen a lot of people overprice. Those are Eileen Fisher. I've gotten some really good returns. J. McLaughlin and Bowden, a little bit more. Bowden and J. McLaughlin somewhere in that like 15 to 30 range. Eileen Fisher is 20 to 50 range for me. So I think just don't overprice them because there's a lot out there for people. So what is a new to me brand that I've had luck with in the last few months? So there was a brand that I picked up like 4 items within a month and they all sold super quick, and it was called Aviator Nation. There was a t-shirt with a rainbow and there were some sweatpants, and they all sold very quick for very good money, like $50 to $100 each. So that I will absolutely pick up that brand if I find it again. Do I list Maeve, Pilcrow, and the letterpress Moth under the Anthropology brand, like the house brand, or do I list it under separate brands? I think I've done both. I think most of the time I do Anthro, so I don't have to think about it. But I think I've done both. I think I've had them kind of listed scattered. So again, I list a lot of times late at night. I'm half asleep. So there's some flaws. Or which Goodwills in LA do you recommend? I don't recommend any. I go to a lot so that I don't become a repeat guest at any of them, because I also want to see how different stores are. So I'm always trying each month to try new stores. I also go to places that aren't Goodwills occasionally, just to kind of get a variety and see how their product, how their pricing is. I'm always switching things up. There's probably, I'd say, about 5 to 10 stores that are my core stores that I hit up about once per month. But I've had good days and bad days at all of them. If you go in a day after me and you're looking for similar items to me, you're probably not going to find much. So there are other resellers, and I would just say if you have your favorites in your area and you're comfortable with that, great. If you're like me and you have to drive anyways, there's a lot in Southern California, and it's not my best finds are sometimes in the most inconspicuous areas, like So how many stores do I hit when I go to LA for the day? I typically 3. I would say about 3. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 5. Depends on how those stores are going, but yeah. And then how do I stay motivated to do reselling stuff? There was like a lot of stuff after that, but all the stuff. I like it. I like the freedom. I like the variety. I like that I can wake up and just kind of, set my day how I feel that day, as opposed to being a slave to a set schedule. So that's how I stay motivated. And sometimes I'm not motivated, and I usually take those as signs as maybe I need a day off. but I have bills to pay, so I get stuff done. Do I have any other income, savings, trust source other than reselling and YouTube? Most of my income right now is reselling and YouTube, but I do have some savings. I do have, some other things that if I was desperate. So as far as other income, every once in a while I'll do an occasional project that's more marketing based. But for the most part, it's just that. I just keep plugging away, and I just want to see that line, keep going up. So any tips for navigating days where I just feel unmotivated to finish? Oh, I already answered that. Someone else asked it. Any tips? If you're having a lot of unmotivated days, this might not be the job for you, and that might sound really rough, but for me, once a week, I'm probably not feeling motivated. If you're 4 days a week, like you're feeling unmotivated on every day that you have to do anything other than buying stuff, reselling for me at least is a lot of the behind the scenes and less of the buying. But some people do buy a lot and then they list very little and they just look for those high dollar items. So I don't know. I think to-do lists are really helpful. Just set out some goals for the day and see what you can cross off. And even the little stuff, just things to cross off is really helpful for me. So different streams of income. Is reselling enough to pay the bills for me? And then what does it compare to my corporate job? So again, I took a pay cut. I'm still a pay cut from what I was making, but I did have a really good job before. So I knew that going in. So I'm not taking any, extravagant trips around the world at the moment. I'm living pretty bare bones, but I also don't really have much of a social life because I live in the middle of nowhere, it feels like. So yeah, I would love to see the growth continue so that at some point, maybe I could take a vacation here or there, but I can pay my bills. That's important. And I have a little bit of cushion. And I'm also getting better at trying to be self-employed, that you don't have that consistent paycheck each month. So what can I do to possibly make it a little bit more cush? But it's a journey. It hasn't been overnight for me. Do I ever struggle with telling people what I do for a living or career? No. I think in the beginning, because I had a really great corporate job, to tell people I was going off on my own and digging through trash for the most part and selling it, a lot of people probably like, what? Why did you leave this great job? And but most people who know me know that I'm pretty scattered, and I don't think they would question it. They know it's a treasure hunt. They can see me on YouTube. Some of my friends and family watch these YouTube videos occasionally, and so they see that I'm passionate about it. And it's also not awkward. I have a business. I have a business license. I pay my taxes. So to me, I've got my own thing. That's pretty impressive to people that I started from nothing and have gotten to where I'm at now. So I'm pretty happy to tell people what I do. But will you come to Indiana to thrift with me? This was actually Racks to Riches. And I have been asked a lot if I'm going to go to different areas. I think that will be a lot of fun in the next 5 to 10 years. I expect to take a lot of road trips. I don't know where and I don't know when, but if I go somewhere in the general area, I will probably let you guys know. eBay Open, I went and thrifted there when I was there. But again, I'm kind of just building my business and using any like road trips for more personal stuff, but I will keep you guys posted. And on that note, I also get a lot of people, one person in these questions, if I will meet them in LA. So because I don't live in LA and because I'm going there to just cram a whole bunch of work in, I don't typically even tell my friends when I'm going down there, because I just need to get as much product as I can. So I do hope to get to the bins and start going. I think there's like a little fly, but I do hope to start going to the bins again at least once a month, because that was a great way for me to meet people. And it was always fun when people said they hoped that they would see me or run into me there, and that kind of made my day. But I just don't go to LA that much. But do I see myself reselling for the rest of my career life? In some way, shape, or form, absolutely. Even if I got another job at some point just to break things up and do something a little different, I would still do reselling on the side for sure. It's so fun. Are taxes a nightmare for resellers? Yeah, keep those receipts, keep track of things. I have a link below for, what is the program I use to keep track of my mileage and expenses and all of that. I'll write it somewhere on the screen, but I have a link below for, I think, a discount with that. That has been a huge saver for me. And, get a local CPA who understands your area and your state taxes, and don't be afraid to ask them questions. But I don't think it's really that big of a nightmare if you just keep track of stuff. So, and even if you're just super part-time, just keep track of it because it's still money coming in. Okay, YouTube questions and then a few personal questions. YouTube, do I plan on doing YouTube long-term? Is this something that I only want to do for the time being? I don't know. It's been 2 years and I knew when I started YouTube, if I didn't get monetized within 6 months, I would probably drop it. So I knew I was going to make the investment of that time. I think it's going pretty well. I try to stay consistent. I try to, if I'm not feeling up for it, I try to just get over that and just, but, it's fun interacting with people. It's fun sharing my journey, the good and the bad, and, the new finds. And I appreciate when people leave comments and let me know their thoughts and their feelings and stuff. So yeah, I don't have any plans, but if YouTube came crashing down, I'd probably find the next platform. But I do prefer YouTube over Instagram. So I would probably say I'll probably be on YouTube for a while, unless you guys stop watching. The dog is stretching. Right, Bill? What is your favorite and your least favorite kind of video to make for YouTube? When COVID hit, my emotions were really a whirlwind, like a lot of people, roller coaster. And it was hard. I panicked. And so I was making daily content on both of my channels, this channel and then my vlog channel. And because I didn't know what sales were going to be like. And, but that's exhausting. And then I scaled back to normal, but then I just didn't, you're not sourcing, so you can't do hauls. And so I started buying ThredUp boxes again, but I also that was a rough time. It still is, I just want to put out content, but I don't want to overthink things. So I've been sticking to a lot of hauls and occasional what sold and occasional Q&A. But as far as the creativity that I once had, I feel like I'm just trying to get by at the moment. And I think that's okay. But my least favorite videos are definitely what sold, anything with a lot of editing, which I do a lot of editing. I edit every single video. I have to watch myself. It's really annoying, but I do editing. It's just not my favorite thing. It's not what I enjoy. So, but favorites are just, I like sharing my finds, the haul videos. It's fun. Personal life. Okay. Top question of all the questions that I got out of everything. What's up with the boyfriend? So I would say 3 weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago, I posted an Instagram story photo. And I think I said in it, I was in a thrift store. We were both masked up, so you couldn't really see his face. And I said, it's apparently take your boyfriend to work day or something like that. And obviously I got a lot of comments, messages, lots of curiosity. And since then I've gotten a lot of questions and wanting updates. So for everyone that asked anything about that, his name is Steven. I met him a few months ago. I was going to hire him. So he has his own business, not reselling related. But I was going to hire him to help me with some video stuff. Because I have these 2 channels, I would at some point like to make some improvements, and I had some ideas. So we had emailed back and forth, I want to say for about a month, maybe 2. And yeah, that's how we met. He still hasn't helped me with any of my videos. But if you notice any improvements in any of my videos, it will 100% be because of him, because that's his business. So, and yeah, if you want to know more about him, he'll probably start to appear on my vlog channel, my second channel, which is linked below. He hasn't been on there yet. I'm very, very protective of my personal life on YouTube because, yeah, there were 2 things when I went into YouTube. I said I was not going to share any guys, and I was not going to ever show my bedroom because I wanted a safe space where I would never be tempted to pick up a camera and just my own freedom, relaxed space. And then, with guys, it's you don't really want that on the internet, just different people you meet. But he's probably gonna be around for a while. So I feel like he's probably gonna be making more appearances there. But yeah, he and I both have our separate businesses, which is great because we kind of have flexibility to hang out, but it's also made it really important for me to have a little bit more of a schedule, not schedule, but be a little more disciplined about getting work done so that I can spend time with him. And yeah, he's a great guy. Okay, do you own your own, and maybe you guys had other questions, but watch the vlog channel. You guys can get to know him over there. Do you own your own home? How long have you had it? These are multiple questions. Do I own my own home? Yes, I have a home. I have a couple acres of land. I have a fun view, a rural area, and lots of wildlife, which I love. But I've owned the home for 2 years now. How long have I had it? 2 years. Have I ever been married? No. Do I have any children? No. Any siblings? 2 sisters. Yes. And I have a great relationship with my family. All of us now live in Southern California. And it's great to be driving distance to all my family. They're all like an hour to 3 hours away. But what is my hair routine? I got a few people to ask that. It's so simple. It's discouraging. I use Suave or Dove shampoo. Just depends on what's on sale, what I'm in the mood for. Usually a coconut scent. That's usually my favorite. Dove, I don't think has coconut scent, but I do like their scent. I use a cheap mousse, whatever's on sale that day, if I need to get a new mousse. So I think the one I'm using right now is Suave, super cheap. So if I do my hair where I just let it air dry, where it's a little bit curlier or wavier, that's just mousse and let it air dry. This is more like, I do use a curling iron, a little bit of a flat iron, and it's just usually a little bit of more of the beachy waves. This is probably my favorite style, but it takes a little bit more time to do. And then I do a lot of flat ironing just to keep it straight and simple. But yeah, I don't use a lot of hair product. So, but I do like my hair down. I know a lot of people are thrown by this. I do not like my hair up. I think it's because I grew up playing sports and I always had my hair up, always. And then I became somewhat girly. And I just liked I've always loved long hair. I've cut it a couple times and I've always regretted it. So I will probably always have long hair. Yeah. And I will almost always have it down, even if it's hot out. I know, it just doesn't make any sense. How many countries, only 2 more questions. How many countries have I been to and where's the next place I want to go in the US or internationally after the pandemic? I lost track of how many countries I've been to. Probably close to 20, not many in Europe, because I know a lot of people can hit up a lot of countries in Europe and that adds the number. But I was going on like one big international trip a year for the most part as an adult. So I would say probably close to 20. I did a lot of the traveling on my own. I very rarely would go with friends. I loved meeting new people. I loved kind of getting uncomfortable in places that I didn't speak the language and a lot of them were third world countries because it was an adventure. But that's my favorite, just experiencing different cultures. It makes me super thankful for what we have here. And I love different foods and but I bought a house, so I haven't gone on any trips in a few years, or 2.5 years, I think was the last one I did. I do want to do more US road trips. There's a lot of the middle part of US I haven't been to. So, and I know Steven likes to do those kinds of things as well. So I would expect we're probably going to be doing a lot of like US road trips, and those will be on the vlog channel. So, in the spirit of Halloween, this is the last question. What was your favorite Halloween costume you wore as a kid? My favorite was Little Mermaid. I've almost always had long red hair. And yeah, I mean, I remember we like rented a costume and it was very awkward to waddle in a mermaid costume, but it was probably my favorite. But I'm not a big Halloween person, so I always got a little scared. Anyways, this is a really long video. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. If there are any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, I do try to answer questions in the comments below so that other people can see the responses, etc. And yeah, I thank you guys all for watching for the last couple of years. Any point of that, it's meant a lot. And here's to more years on YouTube. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.